I think people are trained or not trained on how to properly receive someone. Hey everybody, welcome to today's Jeff Heilman project. My name is Jessica Heilman.
It's the Proj.
And we're sitting here with Mr. Jeff Heilman.
And
Jeff,
Mrs. Jeff Heilman.
how's your week been?
How's the week been? This has been, what are we at, middle of July? I've
Third
got
week of
sales
July
kickoff
for
in Miami
us.
next week, so I'm going to go be drinking some Diet Cokes by the pool in Miami next week at sales kickoff. Got a huge QBR tomorrow for a customer. I got a couple of RFPs that we're shipping.
Quarterly business review.
And
RFP is a
response for proposal or request for proposal.
request for proposal. Okay.
So busy paperwork, lots of paperwork stuff. Working on a couple of side gig things that are working. I've got some consulting retainer that we got the verbal on, and then we had one of our own today. But what day did we post that, Andrew?
Today.
It was today. Today we
It said
posted
like 4 hours ago.
4 hours ago. We had a reel that did really well, 9,000 views with something like 400 likes. Which, I mean, that's not going to put me on the Tonight Show, but it's kind of exciting to see that we're making progress.
Who needs the Tonight Show when we have our garage?
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
I'm sure Jimmy Fallon would love. He's knocking at the door. That's him right now, actually. So neat to see that from a consulting standpoint, things are heating up. From a business standpoint at work, deals are popping. We've got social coming on stronger with our YouTube channel now crossing a couple hundred subs, which took us like a year and a half to get to 100 subs. And then we went from 100 to 200 in like 90 days. And then we went from 200 to 220 in like the last week. So I'm not going to tell you to like or subscribe. You know what to do if that's something that you want to participate in and see more content. But I can tell you that we ship content every single day, 5 days a week for shorts. And then we do the podcast long form once a week on Apple on Fridays, on Apple's Spotify and Overcast.
Overcast.
Which one? Overcast. Sorry, I don't listen to it. Sorry.
You can
The
tell.
Overcasters are great.
You can tell that we have a production team.
Yeah,
Of
I've got
one.
smarter people than me, obviously, that upload this stuff. Because if it was up to me, it'd probably never get uploaded. But how was your week, Mrs. H?
Well, last week, or whenever the episodes are airing, if they're airing in order, we talked about timeboxing and about like creating a perfect day in your calendar. And what does the perfect day look like? Like if you dream of waking up at 5 a.m, if you dream of going to bed by 9 o'clock at night, having these as dedicated time slots in your calendar. And so I've been working, I think that I'm probably on week 3 of having a skeletal best day scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's interesting because I've been waking up at 5 o'clock every morning with my my alarms are set, and definitely noticing that when you remain disciplined with your time, like it's pretty amazing about how confident you just feel in life over general, because it's like, my day isn't telling me what to do. I'm telling my day what to do. And that's a huge, it's a huge self-confidence boost. It's a huge, I feel like I've just been, even though trials and tribulations come, because those are always going to come, it's definitely giving me a sense of more empowerment. And so I would say that this has been yet another week of feeling pretty good. It's the same, going through a weight loss journey. It's the same as being disciplined in
You're back
turning
on the Noom app too, which is
turning
cool.
food off and or whatever, saying no. I have been studying recently, and we're going to continue to talk about the importance of, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And just the understanding that, repetition is key. Show me your daily routine and I'll show you, your habits and how you will succeed or not in life. And one of the things that I've been doing on a daily basis is studying each morning before my day, just reading and getting to the point where I'm able to have some quiet time and study. And I've been working on this concept of honor being a product of receiving. So if I receive you, I want to honor you. If I receive you, I'm going to honor you. It's just like it's two sides of a coin. Receive and honor. They go together. And so what I've been thinking about and really meditating on is that the good, the bad, and the ugly. If you receive it, you will show it honor. So if I receive a chocolate cake into my body and I choose to receive that, my body is going to honor that chocolate cake, and it's going to, it's going to put all of that on me. It's going to put all that in me.
Yeah, and I guess what you give respect to or what you give attention to.
Yeah, and so I've been really thinking about that and just how, like, some people say, well, choose to honor, like that honor is a choice. And I'm arguing that honor is a reflection. It's a byproduct of receiving. If I receive you, if I'm walking towards you and I receive you, I immediately want to honor you by shaking your hand, or I immediately want to honor you by looking you in the eyes. I immediately want to honor you because I've received you and I want to honor, and honor is like entering into a relationship, and I want to enter into that relationship. But when I don't receive you and I just keep walking, I don't show you honor. I don't show myself as being honorable. And so I've been really contemplating about what it means to receive, how careful we need to be with what we receive. Because, man, if you take something in, if you receive something and it's not good for you, you will honor it. Like, it will become, if a sickness diagnosis comes on you and you receive that, immediately you will begin to honor it, and you will begin to let it, percolate, and you'll let it sit on you. And that thing being honored by you will become the forefront of your mind if you choose to receive it.
I had a friend of mine that, her. She closed a bunch of business. I did a LinkedIn post about this. She closed a bunch of business in May. I mean, a bunch of business. $103 million, $108 million. Wow. And her commission check on that was like 0.0323%. She's going to get a couple $100,000 commission check. I mean, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars in commissions. But she closed $110 million of contract value. She's having to fight to make sure that they don't partition that deal and try to cut her out of the mix of it, because they want to keep more money for themselves. And I guess 110 million minus 0.3% wasn't enough. There's a Bible verse that says, it's Jesus talking, and he says, if you go into a city in my name, trying to do the right thing, preaching the gospel. I don't think they called it the gospel back then.
The good news, spreading the good news.
Yeah, maybe they did. Maybe. I mean, it's the gospel of John, but I think they just called it the good news. But if you're going out to do the good work of the Lord, and they don't receive you / honor you, he says, dust the dirt off your sandals, and it'll be as an indictment against their unbelief. And so I told that to her, and I said, it sounds like this company is not honoring and respecting the person who's bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, everybody wants to take credit for that. Which is funny, because one of those deals was a deal that I worked on for a couple of years and had taken away. And I'm glad that she was able to get it across the line. But everybody wants to take credit for that deal. Nobody wants to pay the person that actually did the work to get the deal across the line, which was my friend. And it's like, I'm done being in a position where I demand respect. No, I don't. No, if people like our show, great, awesome. I hope you like and subscribe it. I hope it brings you value, because we pour our hearts into this podcast every week. Andrew spends 10 hours. I spend 45 minutes. Andrew spends 10 hours a week at least editing this thing. We love you, Andrew. Great job. Shout out to Andrew. High five to Andrew.
Who said he'd be here on his birthday, so you guys can look forward to that in the month of August.
That's right, coming up big 18.
And to go in tandem with what you're saying, all
I'm saying is I'm not going to demand that somebody pay me respect. Now, I have respect for myself. If somebody disrespects me, I'm going to stick up for myself, especially if it is related to compensation. But I'm not in the business of demanding that anybody pay attention to what we say, or, like, I could care less. But if they do honor us, we have friends that tried to meet last week with us here in town. We didn't work out, and I was devastated I didn't get to see them. They live up in Canada. but they were honoring and respectful. They come to our house.
They had gotten to receive us. They received us,
they
and we
receive
received
us
them in return.
in the spirit in which we are trying to add value to people's lives and be, it's more than just being a good person. It's actually trying to create relevance in other people's lives and to draw attention to things that are going to make somebody's life valuable. And that we get into time boxing. I'm all excited because I got this new cube idea that I've been working on for time management. And it makes perfect sense to me. I'm trying to apply it in my own life right now. But the concept of time boxing, Kanban, project management, all those things, to make it easier to take action on the things that are in front of us, that we want to bring that. We want to bring the human side of productivity to the technology market, which is so into computing and just work yourself to death, hard work. But for what? For what? So that you can, have a house with a couple of kids and then die? We want you to have a richer, more full life than that.
The light bulb this morning, and I don't know if I've shared this story on the podcast or not, but a few years ago, let's see, Teddy was a baby, so he was 11 years ago.
Yeah.
I started training with a coach who shall remain nameless.
Yeah, we're not going to mention that person's name.
And a super successful celebrity coach for physical
everybody
fitness.
Would know this
you would
person.
know her if I mentioned her. And what the light bulb went off this morning when I was meditating on receiving and honor, and when you receive someone, you show honor, it was so clear. It was crystal clear because I received her as my coach.
Yeah.
I honored her as a product of me receiving her. I honored her. I showed up early. I stayed late. She told me to run, I ran. She told me to go do sprints, I did sprints. She told me to, Monday through Friday, it was Monday through Friday. I received her. And as a result of my receiving her, I honored her with my all-in ability. And then I did receive a reward for that. And there is a reward when you operate in the principle of honor. What ended up happening, the light bulb went off for me because eventually, after a few months, she cut me from her program. She said, I don't want to, no, you're not going to, no, that's not your fault, because this is what the light bulb went off. She couldn't receive me. And because she couldn't receive me, she couldn't enter into an honorable relationship between the two of us. And because she couldn't honor me in return for the honor I was showing her, our relationship could no longer move forward because we were not in a mutual relationship built on honor. Mm. When I was pouring everything in, when I had received it, that was this morning. That's what I'm talking about. This morning, when you are in a relationship with somebody and you have received them and you show them honor and you go above and beyond everything that you need to do to abide by this honor, show honor to them. But if they cannot receive you, there's not a mutual relationship built on honor, and because of that relationship will come to an end. And that is exactly what you were talking about in that scripture about how, if you go into a house and they cannot receive you, and you're there and you've received them because you're there to bring the word and you're bringing the honor, he says, you better just step on out of there, because you're not going to have entered into an honorable relationship together. There will be no honor. If they cannot receive you, there is no honor. And so since there's no honor, you're wasting your time, because when you honor one another, you're showing them love. You're showing them respect. Yeah. Imagine if we were supposed to stay in a house of somebody who couldn't receive us, and we're like, there's no food in the fridge, and you're having to wash your own, you don't even know where the dishes are, and there's no air conditioning, and every time you go to your room,
and they're like,
it's dirty, there's dirt, you have to step over piles of trash because there's they're not honoring you, you're not being received, right? When we receive a guest into our home, there's water bottles, there's the bed's always made, it's clean, it's tidy. We go through this whole process. The kids always give me a hard time because it's like we have a standard of clean, And then there's guests coming over level clean.
Yeah.
Because we're getting ready to receive someone into our home. We want to show honor to the people that are coming. And so if you're in a relationship where you're not being received, chances are you're not being honored. And in the result, well, you're not being honored, then you're not in a relationship that's built on honor, and those relationships just don't stand the test of time. And it goes, that light bulb this morning also, I believe, goes into the, there have been many jobs that you've had where you've received them, you've showed them honor, you woke up early, you stayed late, but they for whatever reason, were incapable of receiving you.
So what do you think that is? I mean, I would love to say, hey, I just happened to find the only 47 assholes that couldn't, but it must be me. I mean, at some point it must be that I'm just too abrasive or not reading the room.
I think that part of it is training. Like people are trained, we grew up in a generation to where if a woman entered into the room, you stood up, or even forget women, elderly, if someone, like I was
did it the other day at coffee. There was a guy that came over, Malcolm, at coffee, was there with the group of the guys.
Yeah.
And I stood up and shook his hand, and the other two guys are a little bit older than me.
Yeah.
But Malcolm's older than me, so I'm like, I'm not gonna stay seated and shake your hands. I'll stand up to shake the hand. I'm almost 50. He's probably 60. And I'm like, I will stand to shake the hand of my elder in this rapport.
I think that people are trained. I think people are trained or not trained on how to properly receive someone. I think it's a matter of training. I think that if you're not trained on how to receive, period, receive anything, receive a gift, receive food, receive another person, if you're not trained on receiving because you're so needy and because you have no example, like we were trained to, if you're wearing a hat, take your hat off when you go inside. We're trained to, if you see somebody, shake their hand. The Europeans are trained to, kiss on each cheek. Yeah. Like this is how you receive somebody. Like, are you trained to receive somebody? And I think that leaders, like John Maxwell teaches, understand when they see rising leaders that they need to receive them and they need to give them more responsibility. They need to give them more power. I think that for whatever reason, many jobs that you've had, there hasn't been a leader to recognize leadership. And they've been just, I think, 47 jobs, that just shows you the sheer number of businesses that do not focus on leadership.
That is a wonderful spin from a wife on a husband who's been fired dozens and dozens of times. And I appreciate so much that you always try to respect and protect.
I think that leadership
image.
Is rare. I think that leader, it's not just about protecting your image. I think if you go to 100 companies and just see who's focused, go ask them, what's your leadership program? If you went to 100 companies and just asked the HR, because the businesses you're talking about were typically only like 3 of them were over 400 employees. Like you've been hired, how many?
A lot of small companies.
A lot of small companies.
I've done,
And if you were going to go to 100 companies with 400 people or less and ask them, what's your leadership program?
They're like, how
many companies do you think are going to actually say, oh, we have an outstanding leadership program, and once a year we go to, because they're not going to stay at 500 or less if they do that.
Well, and what happens if you go back to the Jack Welch years at GE, there were 4 things that Jack made his pillars, that he made his run as CEO all about, and they were the internet, fix the business, sell the business, or close the business if you're not number 1 or number 2 in whatever market you're in. There was a 4th one, and then the one I'm thinking of is Crutonville, which was his training and development facility that was like this 1940s facility that got revamped to create and spin out leadership programs where you're basically doing a 1-week MBA shot in the arm once a year for leaders to be able to encourage people to grow. And he literally he hung his hat on that and said, this is what we're going to be about. We're going to be about growing leaders in the organization. And then Larry Bossidy, who was in the succession kind of king of the hill for the succession, ended up going to Jeff Immelt, but Larry Bossy ended up going to run Honeywell, and a bunch of other people went to go run other big businesses. I think that, I don't know. I've had a really good run at pissing off.
No, and every
bunch of
job
middle
that
managers.
I've heard you, we've been together through all of these jobs that have been. It has never been, because I'm analytical when it comes to facts. Give me the facts.
You're pretty good about that.
Give me the facts.
Yeah.
Give me the numbers. Show me strategy. And in every case, you've hit your number. You have made the client happy. You've seen about getting the job and the task done. You've seen the project come to
Close
completion.
some of the biggest businesses at a company.
And the manager at the time, or even above manager, could not receive your success.
Yeah, and I think
they couldn't enter into an honorable relationship with you, because that would mean if they received you, they would have to honor you. And if they honored you, 9 times out of 10, they would have lost their job because of the fear that they're going to lose their job because you're going to take their place.
That's super interesting.
Versus...
Where it's like, I've never asked for anybody's... I don't want to replace anybody.
I know. But it's that fear that people who do not understand leadership and leadership principles, that if they promote from within, if they encourage the others around them to grow and become better leaders, that not only are they going to look good, because, hey, look at this leader I just discovered, and I'm not threatened by their ability. Not only are they going to look good for promoting from within and saying, look, this is the person I've been mentoring, and they're killing it. But the common fear is that if they do that, their job is on the line. Their rice bowl is being messed with. They're going to be taken out. So let's, instead of promoting and saying leadership, like let's put leadership where it needs to be, prime and center. You end up losing your job, and you're like, I just closed the biggest deal. I'm just super performer. I hit my number. I go to President's Club.
They can't receive it. It's so true.
But they can't receive it. Because they can't receive it, they can't honor you.
Yeah.
And instead of giving you the medals and giving you the gold stars and saying, look at you on your little growth chart, star, they say, get him out of my class, in the analogy of the gold stars.
It is, too.
Get him out of my class.
It's so polarizing. I've had people, 4 to 10 friends from every single company I've ever worked for, stay buddies with me my entire life. Mm-hmm. And I could literally go through the list of people that I'm still in touch with. And this is before Facebook. This is before social media was like a thing at all. And if we just go through the companies, like, I think starting, probably the earliest I could start with would be Princeton Information Systems. Buddies from Princeton Information Systems, buddies from Radix 1, North County Times, no, Nordstrom, no, ARS, no, Perfigo, obviously, Cisco, tons, Tagile, tons, CA. I talked to 3 of them this week.
And I would
Intel,
venture to say that the ones
IBM,
that you've remained friends
Oracle,
with have been the ones that have received you.
It's
because
very
they
true.
have received you.
It's very true.
You guys have both entered into honorable relationships together, and those when you're in a relationship where you're showing each other mutual honor and respect, those relationships aren't ever going to go away.
Yeah.
It's because they received you. Like you've become a part of them, and their lives would not be the same if you weren't there.
But the weird thing about it is this, it's them making the decision.
Yes, exactly.
Because I receive everybody. Unless you're coming at me.
And that's part of our belief as believers. It's part of our training is to receive one another, to get to always leave it all out. Like if you're going to run, leave it all out on the field. If you're going to do anything, do it wholeheartedly, because you're in a posture of receiving and honor. And that I want to honor you and I want to receive you. Now, we do need to be careful who we receive, and because whoever you receive is going to be speaking directly into your life. But I think that we pick up on the little subtle nuances and the cues of, like, if I see somebody who's clearly disturbed heading my way, I'm not going to receive them.
No.
I'm going to actually go cross the street, go the other way.
That's right. If somebody's disturbed, you need to protect yourself.
Yeah.
If they're causing problems, I'm just talking about most folks that are struggling with mental illness or whatever, homeless, are not they're not a threat to anybody, but some are, and we need to be
You need to pick up on those subtle nuances and those little cues. But to be able to receive and to understand that whatever you receive, you will honor. And that's kind of my, like, could this even be like a law of gravity? Like, is this a law of the receiving? Because when you receive, you will honor as an immediate response. The way I likened it to is like, it's the lick of a dog. You know, you pet the dog, it licks you. It's the purr of a kitten. You pet a cat and it purrs. There's this immediate response, and that immediate response upon receiving something is to honor it. And that can be negative and it can be positive. And so, like, I'm really been thinking about those people that have received those negative doctor's reports, and they receive it and they take it and then they begin to honor it, and they don't even know they're honoring it, but they're like building little shrines to it. You know, they're like, oh, I'm ill and I'm honoring this illness. And my challenge would be, if you received healing and you began to focus on, instead of the malady, the healing, and began to honor your body, what would honoring your body in the healing process look like? You're probably going to not eat the Oreo. You'll probably eat the strawberry. You'll probably, like, I want to honor the healing that's happening in my body. I want to meditate more. I want to sleep longer. I want to read more books on health. Like, that's showing honor to the healing that you received in your diagnosis versus honoring the illness and just focusing on the negative aspects of whatever that thing is. So, you know, how we are received, what we receive, who we receive, just know that honor, from what I'm understanding, it's just going to come like right into it. They're going to go together.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. And I think that then that begs the question, like, well, why has it been so many jobs, right? And I think part of it is, you know, we're ambitious, we're doing a lot, we're in front of a lot of people, we're working hard, we're always trying to be the number one sales rep, we're always trying to do the number one job. You're volunteering at a church, you know, and you still go into the office, and you still take calls late, and you still stay and pray with people, and you have Bible studies and women's outreach, and you do offering and introductions and hosting and all that stuff, even though you're not on payroll for that, with the books that you print and that you have available on demand, with the cookie boys that you want to do, with the kids that we're raising. Like, everything we do, we're doing 3 times more work than.
Well, I think that it's had to be
the minimums, you know.
You know, I think 2 things. I think it's taken that many positions because that's just how many it takes, because nobody's focused on leadership. I mean, I think that, like, how many people in a room are going to stand up when a new person comes in? 1 out of probably, 200 or whatever are going to, I was trained to stand up when somebody walks in. But then the other part of it is, with being honorable and choosing to be an honorable person, you're loyal. And I know that loyalty, that is a reflection of being honorable and choosing to carry yourself in honor, means that you will not quit. They have to fire you. You actually put the people above you in the position to where they're going to have to fire you. Like, it's like they want you to, they'll string you out as long as possible because they're hoping you're going to quit. They're going to make life hard for you as long as they're going to make it as hell on earth for you as they can. But you're loyal because you're honorable. And so they have to get to the point to where they go, dang, man, Jeff, you're fired. like you made me do it. Yeah, this is the straw that brings the camel's back. I didn't want to let you go. Yeah. I mean, I did want to let you go. I didn't want to let you go. I wanted you to quit. I tried to make it so hard.
They wanted me to go.
I wanted to make it so hard on you that you would quit, but you never quit. And because loyalty, I believe, is a honorable, like, when you live an honorable life, you're loyal, and you decided you're going to go all in to the end. And so you've had to be let go because you didn't quit.
Yeah. Plus the nature of the work that I'm doing.
Yeah.
The nature of the work that I do is disruptive technology. And that means you need to be disagreeable. You need to have a degree of disagreeableness to your nature in order to be disruptive in technology. And you live by the sword, you die by sword, right? If you're going to have a technology that comes in and messes with taxi cabs called Uber, or messes with online booking for hotels called Airbnb, it's going to be open to being disrupted just by the nature of the market you're going after. So interesting discussion. I guess we can save time boxing for another day.
Yeah,
Where are we at
I
on
mean,
time? Do we know?
we're at 31 minutes. We were
Let's
just
talk about time boxing for a
yeah.
little bit.
I think it
You
honors your
had
time to time box.
a really interesting discussion off camera as far as like how much control you feel. Talk a little bit about how much control you're feeling over your schedule since you started being pretty consistent with time boxing.
Well, it was interesting because I feel like because like we were saying about like my day, I'm telling my day what to do. It's not telling me what to do.
Yep.
Since I've now taken on the full accountability and responsibility for my time, I was positioned, I've been being positioned with some offline conversations to where they were like kind of complaining to me about this and complaining to me about that. He was just calling and he was saying, I'm having this problem with this person and I think you should get involved. And because of this new sense, this renewed sense of being empowered in my day, I was able to say to them, that sounds like that's something that you need to handle between them. Like, why are you talking to me about it? Like honestly, like it's when you are empowered because you know where your day is. I know where I am at 5 a.m. I know where I am at 7 a.m. I know where I am at 9 a.m. I know where I'm going to be at 11. Then when people come to you and they've got all these, it just appears very petty. A lot of the things that are coming to you, they appear very petty because you know where you are. It's like having your center, and you're now regularly centered.
Yeah.
You're actually centered on an hour by hour basis because you know exactly where you're going to be.
Yeah.
Then when everyone else would appear like they are spinning out of control, and you can actually say with
I'm
clarity,
not out of control. Like I'm just sitting here.
Yeah, you can actually say with clarity, I think that with wisdom, I think that you should probably do this, this, and this, but I know exactly where I am. And because I know exactly where I am, I would offer you this suggestion on you should probably find out where you need to be. And so that's kind of that's the more, the feeling of being empowered.
So let's talk about that. I'm sure there's women out there that are interested in hearing about your day, a stay-at-home mom of 7 who is actively working on books,
Whoop, whoop.
publishing a podcast, blogging, working on newsletters, multiple podcasts. Like, let's talk about your day.
This is my second today. This is my second today. Usually on Tuesdays, sometimes on Tuesdays I'll do 5. That's kind of crazy. Well, it starts out,
Because you're so beautiful on camera and have such smart stuff to talk about. Everybody wants to hear what you've got to say.
I think that the day, my key for my successful day today is in what I'm understanding to be threefold. First, I have to know what my week looks like, kind of a general outlook on what my week looks like.
Yep. Monday
through Sunday. Then I need to have my skeleton of my perfect day. Like this is like it's if I'm not called for an emergency over here over there, this is what the day is going to look like. And then the third is I have slotted every night between 9 and 10 to sit down and write the plan for tomorrow. I have to plan what tomorrow is. Now that for me, some people do it in the morning. For me, I need to do that at night before bed because it empties my head so that I can sleep well. And I already know by the next day that I'm going to have a running start for that day. And since it's a skeletal day of, 5 looks like this, 6 looks like that, 7 looks like that, and I'm not so regimented that's immovable, when I plan the night before, then I will know if there needs to be adjustments to the following day in those time slots.
Okay.
And so it's been awesome because, between the hours of 5 and 8, that's my time. No, business isn't open. No emails need to be done. The youngest babies still asleep. And so that's my time. And so setting my clock to wake up at 5 a.m. to go spend some time in prayer from 5 to 6, and then go for a walk from 6 to 7, and then be back, and then I have 1 hour that I can take a little longer walk or just come back and have a cup of coffee. That morning routine, having that solidified morning routine that does not change unless I'm on a vacation, sets the tone for the entire rest of the day. And so finding to put me first in my day has been really helpful, and it's been very giving me a lot of energy. It's definitely, I'm the kind of person that if I commit to it, I'll do it. And so the night before, if I write down tomorrow, I'm going to, do the Peloton for 30 minutes, and I write that down, I hesitate before I write these things down on my plan because I know I'm locking myself into having to do it, because I will not, I'm okay. I'll give myself grace if I've missed it and pat myself on my back and go to bed with forgiveness. But it's serious. I take what I write on my plan as the gospel truth to me.
Take it as what it's your commitment to yourself.
Yeah. And so, if there's anyone who's a stay-at-home mom or who has, is working, hoping to break through and feeling that resistance of, wanting to do something else, I would highly suggest, because you don't have to have a daily routine, you don't have to have a schedule, why not? Why not make one?
Yeah, there was a guy that went to the I'm not sure if it was Shackleton, but there was one of the explorers that went to one of the poles, and he was regimented because when you're going after a pole, North Pole, South Pole, it has to be in either winter or summer, respectively. Winter for the South, summer for the North, because otherwise it's black.
Yeah.
And you can't see and you can't navigate stuff, so it's really hard to deal with anything, especially if there's storms.
Sensory deprivation.
Yeah, but if you have sun all the time, you have to be really regimented about what time of day you do what types of tasks. And he had literally down to 15-minute increments, like what was going to get done. At 10 o'clock every morning, you're going to dig out the South Passage, and at 11, you're going to have breakfast or whatever. But it's less about having control over time, which we don't have. Time's going to just move. But it's really about having control over your attention and saying we're going to have a start and a stop for XYZ amount of attention.
And that's why I hesitated to use the word control, because I don't feel like I'm any more in control or I have control. I feel I'm empowered. Yeah. And I feel that feeling of being empowered creates, it's empowering when you recognize you're showing discipline in an area, and it becomes very empowering. And feeling empowered is a pretty amazing feeling, especially for a stay-at-home mom or for somebody who maybe is in even minimum wage or some position where they don't feel like they are contributing much, because that can be, I know I'm contributing a ton,
100%.
But it can feel like you're not contributing much because there's no financial retribution, there's no financial reimbursement for what it is that you're doing. But when you do have a schedule that you are able to keep and hold, you definitely feel like you are becoming more and more empowered. And in that empowerment, you feel more successful. And so you're able to walk feeling like you're a success, because if you don't plan to, if you don't have a plan, you plan to fail. So it's been a phenomenal experience to go through and just stick to the routine, even when I'm tired, and stick to the routine to say, this is what, and then it becomes precious, right? Like that morning time, gone from being, I don't want to do that because I'm tired, to this is precious and I look forward to it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you are willing to share how you look at your day and how you divide it up. I think that you are very successful. You're probably the most successful woman that I know personally, with all the stuff that you do and the contributions that you make. You do, we've been eating, I've been eating well. The food, I don't know what you've been doing with the dinners and stuff, but your food is just incredibly fun. And I don't know, you just feel like you've crossed over into a gourmet stratosphere.
Thank you.
We had a chicken and broccoli cheese casserole with crumbled crunchy Ritz cracker top yesterday.
That's so bougie. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. I went back and then I stuffed myself and I went back and I ate again and then I had it for lunch again the next morning. I couldn't wait till lunch to eat that. It was just ridiculous. And it's like, oh my gosh, we're struggling. We're building these businesses and we're trying to grow our income and figure out how to make payroll for stuff. But we're eating great. And I'm getting to the gym and it's wonderful. So
you're welcome.
I'm thankful for that because I eat better at home than I do out. So thanks for being with us here on the Jeff Heilman Project.
Yeah,
we're glad you
everybody.
made it. And we hope that you are enjoying yourself and having a great time listening to the Jeff and Jessica show. Probably what we should call it, or the Jessica and Jeff show, but that's
we're Jeffica.
I know.
Jeffica, like what was it? It was Jennifer Ben Affleck and Jennifer. It was like
Aniston.
What was that? Or J-Lo or no, I don't know. There was some combination
Jeffalo?
that they.
Jay.
So, anyways, we're Jeffica.
Yeah. Thanks for being on, gang, and we'll be back next week.
God bless, guys. See ya.
Yeah.